and welcome to Today at the 500 live here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is the final day before the 2020 Open Wheels 500-mile race presented by Mitchell Transmission. Welcome everybody, it's Saturday at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We can't wait to get things going today. A lot of action on track and a little bit of action off the track as well. We'll have the drivers meeting directly after today's airing of Today at the 500. Then we'll have the final practice before tomorrow's big 500-mile race. And then a couple fun races. We'll have the Veterans 100 and the pit stop competition, all to keep us entertained and building towards tomorrow's second annual Open Wheels 500. That'll be live on Race Spot TV at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Give you a look down on the Speedway this morning. And yesterday we had Veterans 100 qualifications. And I'll give you a little read down through that lineup. That was an interesting evening in itself. Certainly broke a few track records on Friday night, just like we did last weekend in Open Wheels 500 qualifications. The first man out was Matt Hollabaugh at 8:11 p.m. Eastern Time. He went out, posted a new track record at 195.650 miles per hour. Next to run, next to top that mark was Chad Simpson at 195.765. Just 15 minutes later, Simon Bryant went out and went 195.846. After the 9 o'clock hour, just past the midway point of qualifications, Christopher Demerit posted 195.871 until Joshua Chin went out at 9:17 p.m. and broke the record once again, 195.899. Eventually, Chad Simpson broke it again at 9:26 with a 195.935 mark. And we thought that could have potentially been the final straw in qualifications last night. That wasn't to be. 16 minutes later at 9:42, Brandon Traino, the defending iRacing Indianapolis 500 feature race winner, he went 196.170. So eventually after that, Simon Bryant and Christopher Demerit both had big runs that were over 196, but just not quite enough to reach the high water mark set by Traino. So in the end, the starting lineup for today's Veterans 100, that'll air at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Race Spot TV. On the front row, it'll be Brandon Traino and Simon Bryant. Next to line up behind them, row 2, it'll be the 144, Christopher Demerit, and the number 76, Andreas Eek. In row 3, 42 of Chad Simpson and the 93 of Joshua Chin. In row 4, number 90, Eric Hodel, and number 88, Jason Brophy. So a strong run for Eric Hodel in 7th. He's actually the first driver in the top 8. He joins Brandon Traino in the top 8 as drivers in this Veterans 100 qualifying up front that are not part of Sunday's 500-mile race. And 9th and 10th, you have another pair of drivers who won't be racing on Sunday, but they'll be here on Saturday, just a little bit later today. Number 16 of Luis Gonzalez Nunez and the 63 of Fabio Viana. In row 6, it'll be the 15 of A.J. Burton and the 845 of New Jersey's Andrew Marquez. In row 7, it'll be number 10, Brendan Lichtenberg. He was the winner of our pit stop competition last year. That'll follow the Veterans 100 today. And then the 02 of Matt Hollabaugh. He qualified 14th. In row 8, it's the 29 of Christopher Mitchison, followed by the 47 of Rob Powers. Rob's our first alternate for Sunday's 500-mile race. In case someone's unable to make the event, Rob would be the first man in the field. In row 9, number 87, Jesper Orman, followed by the 26 of Aaron Roofs. In row 10, the 59 of Nate Adams and the 8 of Nate Burke. In row 11, the 30 and 31, respectively, Jameel Hawkins and Tyson Landis. And starting 23rd, the final spot in the field, number 19, Craig Hawkins. So in the end, it was an increase in participation from last year's Veterans 100 to this year's. Last year we had 20 participants, this year 23. So good to see that number continue to grow. I imagine being on Race Spot TV later on today definitely helps that out a little bit. But good to see that, especially after our entry list for the Veterans 100 this year, a little bit smaller. But we had more people come out in the end, and that's a good feeling for sure. So looking forward to seeing how everybody gets along today. Hopefully a nice, clean day for all drivers, and we're able to get through this Saturday with some good feelings as we head towards Sunday. And while we have the opportunity, we're going to step aside, take a quick break, and we'll come back in just a few moments. You're watching Today at the 500 live from the day before the 500. We'll give you a little preview of today's activities when we come back, talk a little bit about what happened in these events last year, and start to get you set for Sunday's 500-mile race. That's all live right here on Open Wheels TV. You're watching Today at the 500 live at the day before the 500. Coverage of the 2020 Open Wheels 500 is brought to you by the Majors Series, presenting partner of Open Wheels 500 broadcast. Mitchell Transmissions, presenting sponsor of the Open Wheels 500. PITLANE Parlay Podcast. Listen to PITLANE Parlay today on all major podcast platforms. And the Majors Garage, the official setup shop of the Open Wheels 500. And welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is day before the 500 coverage. We are just over 24 hours away from the green flag at the 2020 Open Wheels 500-mile race. And that'll be again live Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Race Spot TV. And while we have a moment, let's bring in the starting lineup for Sunday's race right there on your screen. Of course, Michele Costantini, our winner from 2019 and now our 2020 pole sitter at the Open Wheels 500. New track record for him in qualifications at 231.392. Wilson Neto and Christopher Demerit will join him on the front row. Open Wheels 500 rookie Christian Schallner will be on the inside of the second row, joined by former iRacing Indy 500 top split race winner Brendan Lichtenberg and Hugo Olsen, the driver on Powerslide Motorsports, definitely making a climb through the IndyCar ranks here on iRacing. Excited to see him start on the outside of the front row. Row 3's got Matt Pavelski, Adam Blocker, and Joshua Chin, three former winners of an iRacing Indianapolis 500 top split race. Will be great to see them compete. And then moving on back to row number 4, Jason Brophy, Liam Quinn, and Jesper Orman. Liam sandwiched by a couple of first-timers at the Open Wheels 500. And you see the rest of the field on the screen there. Give you a bit of a rundown of today's action. Again, we'll be going live with the pit stop competition the drivers meeting not too long from now. That'll begin at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so just about an hour and a half. That'll be live right here on Open Wheels TV. Then at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll go live with the final practice of this year's Open Wheels 500. It'll last just 1 hour. It'll be right here on Open Wheels TV. And that'll bring you right up to Race Spot TV's coverage beginning at 2 p.m. That'll be the Veterans 100 kicking things off at the top of the hour, 2 p.m. And for last year's Veterans 100, really, we saw an exciting race. It was with a different car. Of course, last year we ran with the Formula Renault 3.5. And it offered some challenges for these drivers, but we were a bit limited in what we could do with the drafting model and the ability to really get the cars to run a normal racing line at Indianapolis. It really challenged us to go and try and find something better, and I credit Jeff Drake for that. He helped us build a great setup in the Dallara DW12, one of the cars that's actually available for drivers to use here in the Open Wheels 500. But we went on and tested that out a little bit. Jeff did a lot of testing, so that's why I give him most of the credit. And he produced a setup that we think is going to offer some great racing conditions this Saturday. We really have good feelings about the way things are going to go. Hopefully the drivers can all keep it nice and we're able to have a fine, clean race all the way to the end. For today's Veterans 100, we will have 40 laps on the schedule, a yellow flag at lap 20. And with that, drivers are not allowed to pit before that yellow flag. That's just trying to keep things level for all competitors. Not normally, you don't normally see pit stops play a big role in the Freedom 100, so we're trying to kind of bring that same sort of mentality for the Veterans 100 today, and that's why we throw that mandatory halfway yellow. We'll throw that. Folks will get to go ahead to the pit lane, get some fuel and tires, and then be ready for the home stretch. No other yellows will be called during the event, so we're looking forward to hopefully all drivers being able to continue on without much incident. We're hoping everybody can get through these races clean and able to put on a great show at the same time. When we come back, we'll review last year's Veterans 100 and talk about the pit stop competition and continue to get you set for today's day at the 500 plus tomorrow's second annual Open Wheels 500-mile race. You're watching Today at the 500 live at the day before the 500. Coverage of the 2020 Open Wheels 500 is brought to you by the Majors Series, presenting partner of Open Wheels 500 broadcast. Mitchell Transmissions, presenting sponsor of the Open Wheels 500. PITLANE PARLEY podcast. Listen to PITLANE PARLEY today on all major podcast platforms. And the Majors Garage, the official setup shop of the Open Wheels 500. And welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's day before the 500 activities here at the Open Wheels 500-mile race. We're getting you set for a long day of fun here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll put the starting lineup there on the left side of your screen for tomorrow's 500-mile race. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the Veterans 100 and the pit stop competition just around the corner later on. Also excited to see final practice. We'll give you some live commentary of that as well. Very important, I think, that drivers get an opportunity to run in final practice today to really understand the track conditions and the heat that's on deck for Sunday's race. On Thursday, we saw the track temp rise to a total of 136 degrees Fahrenheit. So certainly going to be a challenge for those drivers on Sunday. It'll be a good opportunity for them to get some play on that hot track before the 500-mile race just over 24 hours from now. Looking at today's Veterans 100, we mentioned a little bit about the car selection. Now we'll talk a little bit about last year's race, and it was an exciting race to the finish. We saw Liam Quinn and Jeff Drake were really our front runners during the event last year, and then Dakota DiCienzo was also in the mix late on, and we saw a lot of clean driving up to about the last lap, and that's when unfortunately we had an accident coming down the front straightaway, racing to the checkered flag that wiped out Quinn and DiCienzo, and in the end it was Luke Ibanez, a driver who missed the show for the Open Wheels 500-mile race. He went on and went to win the Veterans 100, and so that was a great moment. We asked Luke on race day on our pre-race today at the 500 show if he'd be back for the Open Wheels 500 in 2020. Tried to talk him into it. He didn't quite make it back, so no Luke Ibanez this year. But it was a great race to the finish, and like we said, we feel like we have a better car package for this year's event, and that should put on a better show for us, even than what we had last year, which was a pretty great result. All things considered, was a lot of fun and gave us a mark to shoot for in 2020, which I think, again, we've got something awesome lined up for you guys. And for those of you that caught the end of qualifications on Race Spot TV last night, we actually had a little bit of a preview of the racing action after qualifications had come to a close. We saw some of the I-5G team members go out on the track and do a little bit of draft practice, and certainly built a little bit of anticipation for Saturday's race here. Seeing those guys swap draft the way they did and work the different lines, it's certainly going to be an exciting race, pretty unpredictable, and that'll give us a little bit of entertainment and a bit of a stress release as we get ready for tomorrow's 500-mile race. Now let's talk a little bit about the pit stop competition. We'll kind of close our show talking about that today before we give you a final rundown of today's schedule and then where to watch for today and tomorrow. The pit stop competition is one of the more unique events that we oversee. It's a fixed race essentially with the Dallara IR18 here on the iRacing simulation. Drivers will be equipped with fuel tanks that can only hold 17% capacity compared to what they normally hold. So what that equates to is just about 3.1 gallons in the fuel tank. And that means every 5 laps or so, they're going to have to come down the pit lane and get fuel in what really amounts to drivers being rewarded primarily for being fast in and out of the pit lane. There are no yellow flags or restarts in this heat racing style event. The first heat last year set the grid for the feature. The first heat was 12 laps and the feature was 20. So again, it's important to start well in that first heat, finish up front and give yourself some track position to go on and have a good start at the feature race, because some drivers crashed in the feature race, or the heat race, I'm sorry, last year, and that really made life harder on them from that point on. Really put them behind the 8 ball a bit, and we were left watching them try to fight their way from the back of the field. Exciting finish last year. Michele Costantini, he was our eventual Open Wheels 500-mile race winner. He really fought for a win in the pit stop competition the day before that, had played a fine fuel strategy and tried to cut out a fuel stop in the feature race, was leading with 1 lap to go, and he ran out of fuel in between turns 1 and 2 on that final lap. In the end, wasn't able to make it around with enough fuel in the tank to avoid losing the lead. Christopher Demerit and Brendan Lichtenberg assumed the lead and battled it out through the last portion of that final lap. And in the end, Lichtenberg just nipped Demerit at the line, took the inaugural pit stop competition crown, and we expect him to be back in that pit stop competition today. That'll give us a great opportunity to see perhaps a repeat winner in that event or a new winner. Certainly some talented drivers that'll be out on track getting some pit stop practice in using that event before Sunday's Open Wheels 500. Well, we're going to give you a bit of a rundown of today's schedule and get you ready for what's ahead this afternoon as well as tomorrow. So we continue here on Open Wheels TV at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll have the public drivers meeting that you can watch right here again on Open Wheels TV. That'll be followed at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time by the final practice for the Open Wheels 500 right here again on Open Wheels TV. You'll be able to tune in for that, and then later on this afternoon, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, it's coverage of both the Veterans 100 first and then the pit stop competition right after that. Those events will both be on Race Spot TV this year, so we're excited to transition over to Race Spot for those races and really bring you guys the best coverage that we can of all events. Arjuna Kankapati will be leading the call on Race Spot for today's festivities, and looking forward to tomorrow, where Arjuna will be joined by the uncomparable Will Vincent. He is working yet again another prestigious 500 here on iRacing, so excited to have Will on the call for the first time at the Open Wheels 500, as well as Aaron Likens, the fabulous flagman for the NTT IndyCar Series. Excited to have Aaron and his insight on the broadcast. He'll offer a lot of great commentary and a look at what's really happening during the race on Sunday. Well, thanks to everybody who joined us for this morning's Today at the 500. A little muted today, but wanted to give you some sort of content before we get rolling and get the scene set for Saturday's action. We'll speak to you guys in just over an hour from now. It'll be the public drivers meeting. You get to listen in like a fly on the wall as we prepare the drivers for Sunday's race, and then we'll catch you a little bit later for final practice. For everybody at Open Wheels, giving thanks to Faye Costantine at ABC Circle Music for providing us with the ability to use the IndyCar on ABC theme. Really appreciate that this month. Also, big thanks to the Major Series and Michael Lett for sponsoring today's broadcast. All shows on Open Wheels TV are brought to you by the Major Series. And I'd like to thank everybody who's tuned in throughout the month. We've had some great returns on our viewership numbers as a whole. Definitely up from last year. So looking forward to another great day here at the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For everybody at Open Wheels Motorsports Sanctioning, we thank you for watching this morning's broadcast of Today at the 500. We'll see you in 1 hour for the public drivers meeting. Speak to you then.